Sindhu, and Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu was the result of conversation between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Rupa Goswami at Dashwamedh Yagya for 10 continuous days. And we heard about who is Rupa Goswami Prabhupada. And then we heard about that the introduction is divided into Mangalacharan, okay, which is like offering the obeisances or invoking the auspiciousness. Then we have Guru Vandana, we have Vaishnava Vandana, and then we have the establishing the objective of the book. What is the objective of the book? What is the objective of the book? Oh. What is the objective of Nectar of Devotion? Should I take name and then ask? How would you want to go about it? To develop prema bhakti for Krishna. Which Krishna? Akhila Rasa Amrita Sindhu. And who is Krishna in Vrindavan? Who is the embodiment of all the 12 kinds of rasa, for so on and so forth. And then we studied the definition or the benediction for the Vaishnavas. And then in the introduction is telling us about the definition of the pure bhakti, which is what? Pure bhakti is? What is the verse? Anya Bilashita Shunyam. What is the verse?
अन्याभिलाषिता शून्यम ज्ञान कर्मादि अनावृतम अनुकूल्येन कृष्णानुशीलनम भक्तिर उत्तमा.
Thank you. And we studied all the words, and then I just wanted to show this last part, that how Adhyabhilashita Shunyam and the definition of pure bhakti from Narad Pancharatika and Srimad Bhagavatam is parallel. So Narad Pancharatika describes the pure bhakti as Sarva Upadhi Vinirmuktam Tatparatvena Nirmalam Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Uchyate. So Sarva Upadhi Vinirmuktam, bhakti is devoid of all conditions, material desires and processes, which is comparison to Anyabhilashita Shunya. I think there's a verse like this in your Bhakti Shastri. I haven't shared your practice questions, right? I'll have to share. Please remind me. Tatparatvena, it should be done to please Krishna, taking him as the highest object, which is Anukul Bhakti, not Pratikul Bhakti, or the intention to please Krishna, okay, which we studied with examples. Then Nirmalam, which is unobstructed by other processes like Jnana, Karma, Adi, Anavritam. And we studied about Jnana and Karma examples. Adi, Anavritam means, or some processes like that, which means yoga or charity. Okay, so on and so forth. Or yogic siddhis. And Hrishikena Hrishikesha, which is bhakti is defined as service, Sevanam Bhakti Rachate, done by one senses to master of the senses, Krishna, which is Anushilanam Bhakti Rittama. And then Bhakti for Srimad Bhagavatam is described as Ahetuki Apratihata. Ahetuki means bhakti unto Krishna is without cause or without material desire or desire for any type of liberation, which is Anyabhilashita Shunyam. Avyahahita. Bhakti is not contaminated by karma or jnana. Jnana karma adi anavritam. Okay, so this is how the parallel is drawn between the pure devotional service and a definition of pure devotional service in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and from Narad Pancharatika and from Srimad Bhagavatam. The first chapter summary, spare obeisances to Shishi Radha Govinda. I think we did till where? Anishilanam. Okay, you remember this, right? This the primary symptom and the secondary symptom. Sarupa Lakshan, Tathastha Lakshan in the definition. You're supposed to know Anyabhilashita verse pretty well. Okay, this is from your handbook. That how Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is divided into 4 divisions. As a map in the ocean has 4 directions, north, south, west, east. Like that, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu has 4 vibhag or 4 divisions. Uttara vibhag or north, Dakshin is south, Paschim is west, Purva vibhag is east. And for the sake of Bhakti Shastri, we study the Purva vibhag. Or Bhagavad Gita, varieties of devotional service. So in Purva Vibhag, there are 4 laharis or 4 waves. The first wave is Samanya Bhakti, which is a general description, which is introduction in chapter 1. Then Sadhana Bhakti, which is from verse 2 to 16, makes the bulk of the Purva Vibhag. Then Bhava Bhakti is Bhakti in ecstasy, which is 17 to 18 chapter. And then Prema Bhakti is pure love of God, which is 19 chapter. So now in terms of 3 kinds of Uttama Bhakti, Sadhana Bhakti, Bhava Bhakti, Prema Bhakti, and then there are subdivisions of it which we'll study. So Sadhana Bhakti is a bhakti which is done in practice, which makes the bulk of the Eastern wave, which is from chapter 2 to 16. Then Bhava Bhakti and then Prema Bhakti. Sadhana Bhakti, I think we all know, is of 2 kinds, Videhi Sadhana Bhakti and Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti, right? So the same thing, but the budding of the flower in different stages. Chapter 1 is characteristics of pure devotional service. This chapter, did you all study this chapter? We'll just do this chapter. We can finish the first Samanya Bhakti topic. Did you all read the chapter?
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Good, thank you. So the pure devotional service, Rupa Goswami Prabhupada says, brings about 6 transformations. Prabhupada opens the chapter by saying that pure devotional service, what Kapila Dev's mother is saying to Kapila Dev. What is she saying? What is she saying as the chapter opens? And then Prabhupada says that, okay, this is what she says, but then there are 6 other things that pure devotional service brings about. What is she saying? If somebody has the book, you can read the first paragraph. Okay. Kleshagni, relief from material distress. Shubdha, bestowing all auspiciousness. And then Moksha Laghukrit, derived happiness of liberation. Then Sudurlabha, fourth, really ajib. Bhava Bhaktis, we'll come to all that. Sandrananda Visheshatma, impenetrable, condensed bliss, distinguished to the nature of the self. Those in pure devotional service deride even the conception of liberation, and Sri Krishna Akarshani, it attracts even Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, how this particular chapter is divided is that how the flow of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu says goes is each of these each of these 6 characteristics have sub characteristics. Okay, I will read the slides, but we'll go to the Kindle version as well. And then you go back and read Prabhupada book chapter again. Then it will make more sense. Okay. So hear this, read hear the Kindle version, and then also look at go back and read the chapter again. So there are sub characteristics that how bhakti relieves kleshagni. How does it do it? And if you go to Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu in the Kindle, there are verses given, what verses defining what characteristic. So sorry, Hare Krishna. So I think we'll go there first because this is, or let me explain the cycle of sin, because then if we understand the cycle of sin, then we'll understand this. Bhakti, this is a general, protects the surrender, Krishna protects the surrendered soul. Cause of suffering is previous and pious, present in previous sins. And sins are due to ignorance, and in ignorance the sins have mature and immature consequences. The chain of sinful activities drag the suffering soul through lifetimes. This is all very scattered. I realized it after rereading. So I have to, maybe for the next class, I'll be more ready to arrange the slides. These are the references. Now, how I take Nectar of Devotion is a thesis of Srila Prabhupada, like a PhD thesis of the whole Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. This is how thesis is written, how Prabhupada has written Nectar of Devotion. You give the topic and then you give the research that in support of the topic that you have done. And then you give the author gives its own conclusion as well. So Prabhupada has, written a thesis. So there are references under each and every category. Okay. So here are the references. It'll be good if you can make your personal notes, not elaborate notes, just notes that you can, like how I do. Like I just make tabular form like that, very quick notes as you're reading, so that when you go back, because you're not reading it just to pass an exam, then you read, you know what you're getting into. Okay. So here the evidence given by Shastrik by Uddhav. Krishna is telling to Uddhav, my dear Uddhav, devotional service unto me is just like a blazing fire which can burn into ashes, unlimited fuel supplied to it. And then in third canto, I think this is Kapila Dev saying, anyone who performs 9 kinds of devotional services, even if born in a family of dog eaters, become immediately qualified to perform sacrifices, which Prabhupada gives an elaborate explanation of in this chapter, that how is it that a person born in a dog eater, because a person who's born in a dog eater is born by virtue of its past sinful activity. Right? But how is it that they become so purified that they can actually start performing devotional service, pure devotional service, and can perform sacrifices? A sacrifice can only be performed by a Brahmin. How is it? It is because it destroys all levels of sin. Okay. But the specific qualification of devotees, the devotee is very alert not to commit further sinful act. Okay, I just want to go over the cycle of sin. The cycle of sin is explained like most of the Prabhupada gives benefit of doubt. Most of us are performing sinful activity because of ignorance. Okay, so ignorance is avidya. What happens because of ignorance? The seed. Here, bija, there are two words, two contexts in this chapter. Bij is used. One is bij, and another is, I think, parama bij, if I'm not mistaken, but we'll come to it. So bij, over papam bij. So bij means here it is in context to the seed is implanted in the heart to do sinful activity. This is a seed. Okay, it has not fructified. There is no action which has happened yet. So the seed is implanted in the heart of the material desire because of avidya, because we don't know who we are. So the conditioned soul has this seed of the material desires which are lying in the seed form. And when the conditions becomes congenial, then the conditioned soul performs the sinful activity, which is papam. It should be papam. And then because of sinful activity, there is suffering, which is klesh. Okay. So cycle of sin. Sin has 4 stages. Analogy of the growth of tree from seed. Avidya leads to desire. And the desire leads to action. And action leads to suffering. But suffering is of 2 kinds. One is aprarabdha, which is unmanifested reaction. Prabhupada gives example of a person who has committed a sinful activity but has because not yet suffered for it. It's lying. The punishment is waiting. Like when caught either after death or by the law, then there is punishment waiting. Okay, they're just not been caught yet, which is called aprarabdha, which is unmanifest reaction. And then what happens when person is not getting a reaction? The avidya is common to all the 4 things. Okay, this is how I understand. Then they think that, oh, I can do anything, I'm not gonna get punished, so the sinful disposition or kutam continues. Understood? Is it understood? This is also you need for the sake of your exam or passing. But there comes a stage when aprarabdha becomes prarabdha or manifest reaction for which one suffers. And Shri Prabhupada gives example of somebody who is in a legal issue or somebody who's uneducated or not very good looking. These are some of the examples of suffering from chronic disease. These are some of the examples of prarabdha or manifest reactions. Each and every condition soul has this. Each and every. It says that, okay, this person has done such a gross sinful activity, but they're not suffering. Well, they will suffer. The bija, that will, our prarabdha will become prarabdha in due course of time. Now the question is that how, I always ask this question that who decides that why can't it become suddenly prarabdha? Why? It has to wait. So then one person gave me the answer. I don't know if this is well, he gave the reference from Mahabharata. This because it takes time for the sinful reaction to mature. I mean, like, what does it mean? Because you already, let's say, then he gave example of Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra asked Krishna, why was I born blind and why all of my 100 sons died? Krishna said, well, 100 births ago, was it 100? You were a hunter, you were hunting, and then you shot an arrow and to the pair of birds, and the arrow made the birds blind, and then they had 100 babies, and all of them died because the arrow generated the fire. So it was like, but why 100 birds? It took 100 birds for me to go through the same thing. Why? Krishna said because it took 100 pious activities to have 100 sons. I mean, it took so many pious activities to have 100 sons, to have credibility to have 100 sons. So, okay, this is, which is like, I don't know how, Krishna, my Guru Maharaj says in Bhagavad Gita, doesn't talk so much about karma. Intricacies of karma are hard to understand. And then he just finishes it off by saying, just hear from me what is akarma, what is vikarma, and what is karma. Right? Fourth chapter, verse 16, 17. This is all he says. He doesn't exist. Intricacies of karma are difficult to understand. He says that. And my Guru Maharaj says Krishna doesn't get into it too much. But I understand by the virtue of faith, maybe in due course of time, we will understand that how our prarabdha to prarabdha stage takes so long that we see so much sinful activity going around, or we might be doing it, but we don't get the suffering. But the question of in terms of Bhakti Samhita Sindhu is that pure devotional service corrects everything, all four stages. And pure devotional service is the only way to get rid of all the cycles, all the stages of sin. If somebody is doing charity, then yes, they may minimize the result of their sinful action, or if they're very like doing austerity, or if they're doing penance. So they can do that. But what is the difference? But what happens? But what is the problem? Why can't any other activity take care of all the four stages of sinful reactions? Why, okay, I'm gonna do sinful activity, then I'm gonna go give charity, or do some sort of ritual sacrifice, or some sort of a correction of the antidote of the sinful activity, and then I'll not have a sinful reaction. So I'm good, no? My pure devotional service.
But when they say we do prashyatap,
Mm.
will that help, or that also doesn't help?
Oh, it helps. It helps to minimize the reaction. It helps to minimize the reaction, but it does not help all the four stages. Just helps minimizing one stage. But uh, what pure devotional service is doing is removing all the four stages. So my question is how? Chalo, everyone has to answer. You can turn on your cameras, no? Every day we go through it. Anvaya Mataji, how? Today Rupa Mataji and Linit Prabhu are not there. Yes, Mataji, how?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Sadar Pranam. So, in this, if you're doing charity, penance, and all, still the seed to do the sinful activity still remains.
Very good.
It should be burnt. That
Very good.
happens with devotional service.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. Yes. So the seed or the desire is not eliminated by any other activity other than pure devotional service. So Prabhupada gives example of a venereal disease. Okay, somebody has a venereal disease or sexually transmitted disease. So they go to the doctor and they get the injection. So the disease is cured. But is there a guarantee that they will not get the disease again? No, because the desire is not eliminated. But, but a Krishna conscious person will not have a disposition to do a sinful activity. That's why it eliminates it from the root. Okay, understood?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, so we'll go over very quickly. I'll go very quickly just to give an overview as to how do you have to study the subdivision. So here klesha is there are two types, two ways that how a living entity suffers is described. Okay, I have described the avidya leads to material desire, leads to papam or sinful reaction, and then klesha. Here, sinful seed of sin is referred to as papa bijam, and this is from verse 18 to 26 of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. If you read the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu verse by verse, all these verses are defining that how bhakti destroys the suffering. Okay, now papam here is saying is of we have read this. That's the sinful. So papa bijam means seed of sin. Papam means sinful reaction, which is of two kinds. We know prarabdha and prarabdha. Now, bhakti destroys both. This is until verse 20, which is described, 22. Now, one question can be raised, which I'm going to bring here. I should have asked this question. That says, okay, the devotee does not suffer, but we see devotees suffering. We see them suffering, right? It's like sometimes a devotee has an accident. I have a devotee in Gitanagri who had a stroke in April. She's still in rehab. What are we in now? March. 6 months? We are in October, sorry. 6 months, she's still hospitalized in rehab. So we see them suffering. Cannot use their body. So how do you explain that the devotee does not suffer, but we see them suffering?
Old Prarabdha.
But we say that this pure devotional service eradicates everything. Old, new, very old, very, very, very old. Something that has to be done in the future, everything. It just burns. Krishna gave example of forest fire, which consumes all the fuel wood supplied to it. No matter how much you supplied, burns, right? And Krishna says this in Bhagavad Gita, Ma suchaha, aham tvam sarva papebhyo, mokshishami ma sucha. Right? This is sarva papebhyo. Here, if you read the translation in Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada explains what is this sarva pape, all sinful activities. What does it mean? It's everything. The stock is clear.
Then Krishna is actually helping by making this karma burning fast so that he can, or that devotee can come back to him much sooner.
Okay, you can do that. So we suffer because of the Vaishnava Radha or because of Krishna's will. A pure devotee. Okay, my answer would have been because I'm not a pure devotee. So I'll suffer. But a pure devotee suffers or not suffers because of two reasons which are given by Rupa Goswami. Is either because of the Vaishnava Prad or because of the will of Krishna. Right? This question was asked by Yudhishthira Maharaj to Krishna that we are with you all the time, but why? 11 years exile, why? The wife was insulted, why the war? Why so many sufferings? So that is my favor. If I especially favor someone, yasyaham anugrihanamemi harishe vachanam tava, something like that is there, right? So Krishna says, I deprive my pure devotee of all his wealth. So everybody banishes that person and then he exclusively seeks my shelter. Okay, so the pure devotional service has full potency to burn our all sinful predispositions or reactions to ashes completely. But one must be very vigilant not to do any further sinful activity, which in itself is a seminar. But understand that pure devotional service is the only way. There is no other way. And this is another description of papam or sinful reaction, how bhakti destroys the 4 types. So here it is described, aprarabd, phalam papam, kutam bijam, phalanmukham, which I discussed in this cycle. Tell me if it is getting too much, okay? This is the only place where I'll spend more time in this chapter, rest we'll just zoom through. So here it says aprarabd, we understood that the sinful reaction for which we have not suffered yet. Phalam papam, which is like we are already suffering, or prarabdh. Kutam bijam. Here, the bijam is the kutam is the disposition. It describes now here the bija is different from the bija which is discussed previously. This is what I want to bring up. Bijam in this verse is different from Papa Bijam in verse 16 as the context of the usage are different. Namely, Bijam before was sinful desire and sinful reactions. Papa Bijam means sinful reactions. I'll come to it. I'll bring back the verse 18. Here, Papa Bijam, ignorance leads to sinful material desire. That's called Papa Bijam, seed of sin or material desire, which leads to material reaction, which is Papam, and then which leads to suffering. But here, when we say that pure devotional service destroys 4 types of papam or sinful reactions, the word bijam here means sinful reaction, not the desire. Okay, it's a technical thing. Previously referred means desire. Previously referred papa bijam, but here bijam refers to that the reaction, which is also shown here. Which is in the sense is like the prarabdha or aprarabdha. It is used in that context, how I am understanding. But I'm happy to share this with all of you and then you can see how you understand. Okay, so far so good. And then what does Prabhupada gives example of a disease suffering. And then he also gives example, a doctor gives vaccination against a disease so that a person doesn't suffer anytime. So that's also like bhakti is a vaccination, so we don't even catch the disease. Okay. So now how else bhakti destroys the seed of sin, namely sinful desire. So it acts at the seed level. The predisposition to commit further activities is also destroyed. So this is how it destroys the sinful reactions or sinful activities that a devotee might do in future. Whatever is done in the past is destroyed, and the predisposition to commit further is destroyed. And because there is no balance on the past, there is no suffering in the present. That is how it is. Kleshagni destroys all sinful activities. You see, it's a PhD study. It is like Chaitanya Charitamrita. Chaitanya Charitamrita, one line, but so much depth. It's mind-boggling, right? One day, okay, bhakti gives me bliss. I feel so happy. Chanting Hare Krishna. I feel so happy using a sattvic life, leading a sattvic life. But how? You should be able to understand and explain. Any questions? And then bhakti destroys the ignorance. But this is a reference. This example is also there. Elephant takes bath. So in your handbook, read like this. Read Nectar of Devotion. If you have Updeshamrita Subodhini, Bhakti Rasamrita Subodhini, I think it's a very good book to have. Then read that. And then after that, go back and read Nectar Devotion again. And in your handbook, there is a page of analogies. So every analogy, try to make sense that Prabhupada is using in what sense. What context is it being used? Okay. So there's a way to read this PhD thesis. So elephant takes bath, but then as soon as it comes to the bank of the river, it throws the dirt again over it. Okay, I'll go a little fast. So it destroys the ignorance because one understands that if I do this, then I'm going to go away from Krishna. Devotee doesn't want to do anything which takes it away from Krishna. Okay, so bhakti destroys ignorance in that way. Now the next thing is bhakti bestows all auspiciousness, is Shubda. This is the next benediction of your devotional service or characteristic of your devotional service, is Shubda. How does this bestow all auspiciousness? So it doesn't leave anyone empty. Okay, we say, okay, Mayavad or impersonalism or voidism, Nirvishesh or Shunyavadi, they say there is nothing. You whatever you have done will be nullified and there is nothing. But in Krishna consciousness, we say, okay, yes, the sinful predisposition, the sinful reaction is destroyed at the root, but then it is replaced by auspiciousness, Shubda. It's not like there's nothing. So as the suffering decreases, auspiciousness increases. And the two are fully manifested nishtha. Auspiciousness means welfare for everyone and development of good qualities. I think I'll go to Kindle version first because my slides are not very well organized. How does it auspiciousness? 4 types of auspiciousness. This is the verse from Bhakti-Rasamrita Sindhu. Benefits everyone. It attracts everyone. Bestows good qualities. Gives superior happiness and other items. So this is how is Bhakti auspicious? Because it benefits everyone, attracts everyone, all living entities. It bestows all the good qualities that the demigods have, a pure devotee has, all the good qualities. And then a non-devotee has no good qualities, even though they may look like they're so warm-hearted people, but this is Shastra speaking, no good quality, because a quality in a conditioned soul is supposed to take it near to Krishna. If it is not, it's not good. In terms of the language of the Shastra, what is good, what is not good. And it gives superior happiness and other items. Okay, so bhakti attracts everyone and benefits everyone, which example is given in Jarikhanda forest when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was traveling. And then bestows good qualities. This is the verse, Jasyati Bhagavati Akinchana Sarve Gunes Tatra Samaste Suraha. So simply by engaging in Krishna consciousness, one develops all good qualities. Prabhupada said there are so many PhD, so many academic people going around, but they cannot restrain themselves from doing sinful activities, nightclubs, meat eating, drinking, alcohol, gambling. Cannot stop. And Prabhupada gives one word of caution, which I now see in my life. One may be doing some sort of yogic exercises, but the minute they come out, they will again do all these things. Okay, so why is it important? Because is Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu trying to develop an eye in us to find fault, who is good, who is not good? Why is it important to know?
For
Yes,
self-reflection. For self-reflection. For
okay,
introspection.
very nice. Self-reflection, yes, so we stay guarded. What else? What will you do with the self-reflection? Whatever we're doing at the subtle level has to come at the gross level. So what are we doing with the self-reflection? Very good.
We will not have, with this vidya that we are developing, we will not have that beach.
Very good. Okay, then what will you do? Will not do sinful activity. Very nice. I think that's what you're trying to say. A devotee will not do, but we will also not be attracted to an association, such an association. Okay? Will not be attracted to such an association either. If we don't have this knowledge, then we can be We may find no problem in this. Okay, they are doing it. I'm not doing it. What is the problem? But they have this good qualities. I'm not saying find fault and just close your eyes and then speak ill about person. No, I'm saying Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, who is a Vaishnava? Who is a Vaishnava? Asat Sanga Tyaga Sa Vaishnava Achar. So one who is able to give Asat Sanga or Sanga which is not true. Okay, it is very, 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 very hard to give up an association based on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's statement. It looks easy, but if we read Nectar Devotion, we pray to Rupa Goswami, it becomes easy. So we don't develop it because the minute we say, okay, there's no problem in it, we're actually taking part in it then. It's fine, you can do whatever you want. And then what happens, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains in Chaitanya Chaitamrita, which I find fascinating, is like, then we share our heart with in the association. Invariably, it will happen. You at your workplace or in your neighborhood or in your family, invariably, we know that this person has this predisposition because by virtue of chanting Hare Krishna, anybody can see that. You get that lens, okay? You can see that. But you'll not be able to restrain yourself. Okay, fine, they're only eating fish. What is the problem? You know what happened? I was feeling like this, then this happened. You start sharing your heart. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said a line in Chaitanya Chaitamrita that never trust a meat eater. I'm not saying it. Don't come behind me. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying it. Meat eaters are not trusting, not trustworthy. Never trust. This is, don't share your heart with them. So it's so practical, you know. Bhakti Samrita Sindhu is very practical. Okay, now the bhakti gives happiness. So this is so interesting. Rupa Goswami, the happiness that a conditioned soul derives in material world is divided into many categories depending on what book we read. Okay. So in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it is derived, Rupa Goswami is dividing the happiness into three types. One is that what we derive from material things. You know, in America, I think it's in India too. Last year I was in India, this Black Friday. You know, India also has Black Friday now. We will leave like turkey and black. So material, everybody like starts making lists that what are we gonna shop for is Black Friday. So for material things. Somebody who's fed up, like, what is there? Everything is same only. Whether you buy, how much can you eat? How many vessels can you collect? I have a colleague, she has, I don't know, 4 air fryers, 6 rice cookers, and they're a family of 4. I said, what do you do with all that? She said, I look at it. So to accommodate all that, she had to expand her kitchen pantry into, she said, my kitchen pantry, our office is very big at work, so is actually bigger than the size of this office because you have to stock all these collectibles that you have collected now, right? Because we are trying to look for material happiness. Okay, look at the here the unheard. Why is somebody doing it? From Shastri Kai, we can understand because the happiness lies in the material things. But then when one gets fed up, you get, what are you going to do? 6 rice cooker, 4 air fryer, like what are you going to do with all that? As then Brahma realization that I can live a minimalistic life and actually cultivate knowledge. Brahman is knowledge, hai na? But then beyond that is happiness from serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this is, Prabhupada explains this by saying that yogic siddhis are there. And so many yogics, 8 yogic siddhis are described, and then a devotee doesn't find any happiness in anyone. And moksha laghukrit bhakti makes liberation look insignificant. Yes, this is very true, right? That who wants to merge in the sky and live over there? When we have so much activity going on in Vaikuntha Lok, in Goloka Vrindavan. So dharma, artha, kama, moksha, they become like grass and shameful to appear before bhakti. The whole world, not the whole world, but most of the people are running behind this artha and kama, artha and kama. right? Earn money and then satisfy your desires. Earth and calm, earth and calm. But somebody who is a little bit ritualistically predisposed can have dharma, artha, kam, and moksha. But in front of bhakti, like, oh my God, this looks so dull. And the example given is of Sridhar Kolavecha Sridhar, one who used to subside by selling. What did he used to sell?
Bananas.
Yeah, plantain leaves. So, okay, so and then meager earnings, but still used to give 50% for worship of the Ganges and 50% for self-maintenance. And Mahaprabhu asked him that Kulavecha Sridhar, you can get better accommodation, you can have a better life I can give you. And Kulavecha Sridhar closes his ears and says that don't give me such words, don't give me something that I don't want, because I already have what I want. This is just external. And all kinds of yogic siddhis, all kinds of happiness, all kinds of material enjoyments, everything is a maid servant to bhakti. This is how it bestows Shubdha or all auspiciousness. How, if somebody says, you tell somebody that bhakti is all auspicious. This is all auspicious? How all auspicious? So these are the points we can touch upon according by the mercy of Rupa Goswami Prabhupada. How is it all auspicious? It benefits everyone, it attracts everyone. It bestows good qualities, gives a superior happiness, and which means that it even derates the concept of liberation, or the concept of dharma, artha, kama, moksha also appears very dull. Understood? It's not easy to understand. Just say understood, yes. Okay. Because you have to go back and read Prabhupada's thesis. Prabhupada's thesis is very condensed. Because his thesis is very, very condensed. So you have to decode and then read and then go back and read again and make notes. And then apply. And we also studied the third quality, which is moksha lagukrit. The fourth quality which are characteristic of bhakti is rarely attained. How bhakti is rarely obtained? It says bhakti is attained only by two ways. There is no third way. How? Okay, so the how, because bhakti is only attained by either the mercy of a pure devotee or by Krishna himself. If somebody says that, okay, I have attained bhakti or I'm chanting Hare Krishna because I have done some pious activities in the past, no. This is coming from the mental platform. And I understand it in this way. No matter how much you try to mix oil and water, oil and water, oil and water, do they mix? This class is very quiet.
No.
Okay. Ambika Mataji, does oil and water mix?
No, Mataji.
So, no. Like that, our karmic activities, understand, are on the platform of x-axis, y-axis, z-axis. 3 dimensions, right? Our karmic activities are happening in the material platform. If there is no karma, if there is a karma, we go to Krishna, right? But karma is actually happening at the material platform. But bhakti is at the 4th dimension level. So how are you mixing the 4th dimension to the 3 dimensions? It's not happening. It cannot happen. If somebody says, oh, I have done something nice in my past life, that is why I'm chanting Hare Krishna. It is true for Bhava Bhakti stage. We hear some rare cases like Bharat Maharaj, but it is not true for anybody at any time. Madhurya, no, what is that? Shuddha Bhakti Chintamani? We had started to read that book and I found that book extremely difficult, so I gave up. But it explains that it is not possible. So sadhana bhakti without asakti and sadhana with the asakti. So bhava bhakti cannot be attained. You cannot say that I'm chanting Hare Krishna for 40 years, so I'm at bhava bhakti platform now. So there's an automatic promotion. No, it's not like that. Okay. we can go on chanting Hare Krishna for a very long time, but we still may not be at the Bhava Bhakti stage, because if one doesn't have asakti or attachment. But sadhana with asakti, or if we're practicing our Krishna conscious duties with attachment to Supreme Personality of Godhead, or keeping the object of attachment in the mind, then it is possible by Krishna's mercy. Okay, this is the same. If you draw the corollary between this and nectar of instruction, where 6 things one must avoid to in devotional service, what is the Sanskrit of not following the rules and regulations and following them too much? Both are there, right? What is that verse?
Niyamagraha.
And niyam agraha. Very nice. Thank you. So following it too much or not following it at all. So what do we do? What is the middle ground? The middle ground is follow with keeping the object of following in the mind all the time. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Okay, so Krishna can give liberation, material enjoyment very easily, but does not give Bhava Bhakti very easily. Why he does not give? Because he becomes attracted to it. Okay, so then Sandrananda Visheshatma means it contains a condensed bliss. Is the 5th characteristic of a pure devotion service. What are the characteristics of the pure devotion service that we have studied so far? Linit Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. What have we studied so far? I have to, make better slides. Yes, Linit Prabhu. Am I audible?
Yes, Mataji, we can hear you.
Okay, Shiva Srinivas Prabhu. Shiva Srinivas Prabhu, what have we studied so far?
It brings immediate relief from all kinds of material desires.
Material sufferings, klesha.
Yeah, suffering, different
Very nice.
kinds of pleasure.
What else? Very nice. What else?
Pure devotional service is not that easily achieved, Mataji.
Okay, what else?
Moksha Lagukrit.
Okay, very nice. What else?
Liberation. Yeah.
Derives the concept of liberation. Yes, Shiva Srinivas Prabhu, what else?
It puts us directly into the transcendental platform.
It puts us where?
Pure devotional service.
Bestows all happiness.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, very nice. So, and then the bhakti manifests condensed bliss or sadrananda visheshatma. So, the bliss of Brahman realization attained by samadhi lasting for half of Brahma's life cannot compare to even a drop of ocean of happiness or bhakti. So without, you see, don't forget we are reading Ras Amrita Sindhu, Bhakti Ras Amrita Sindhu. So the mellow or the rasa is the happiness which one derives from practice of devotion service. And you said that it is condensed. Okay, condensed bliss. Person is so happy that they that they don't look at anything else for happiness. Okay, how? One way is bliss of darshan. And Prahlad Maharaj saw Narasimha Dev. That example is given. Then bliss of Krishna Katha. Like if we are sitting in the association of pure devotees and we are hearing from pure devotees, then that itself gives us the bliss. I don't remember the verse, but there is a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam that explains that at least for the time that we are hearing Krishna Katha, what is that? Krishna, just give me the memory. The suffering, the pangs of suffering don't touch the conditioned soul at that time, at least for the time that we are hearing. Have you had that experience? Your very nice Bhagavatam class, very nice session with the devotees, or you're hearing Prabhupada. At least for that time period, there is like, we don't get touched by anything else going on in our life. So it is from validated from Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, this is how it produces the condensed. I'm not going over the details, but understand that every characteristic has subdivisions, and it is explained that how does it do it. It's not that you're just not touching upon it. And Krishna, Shri Krishna Karshini, Bhakti attracts Krishna. The example given is of Radharani. Then Krishna is called Madan Mohan because he attracts even the Cupid, but Radharani is called Madan Mohan Mohini because she even attracts Krishna. That is why in Vrindavan, everyone takes shelter of Radharani. So for her to explain how to go about Krishna. So Prema controls Krishna. Bhakti is called Shri Krishna Karshini, or it attracts Krishna because Prema controls Krishna, which we study thoroughly in Damodar Leela. There is no way anyone can bind Krishna. There is no way. But Krishna gets bound by what? By mother's love. The rope is the love. Krishna is attracted to Pandav's devotions. Prabhupada gives this example. A devotee always appreciates other devotees. Pure devotee never thinks himself very great. Always think that other devotees are great. So Yudhishthira Maharaj thought that Prahlad is actually a better devotee. That Narad Muni said that actually there is no better devotee than you. But then there is another book called, it's not written in this, I'll mention, Brihad Bhagavatamrita. So what is Brihad Bhagavatamrita? Brihad Bhagavatamrita is when Parikshit Maharaj is going to leave his body in 7 days, and he has heard the Bhagavatam from Sukdev Goswami. Okay, and then when he's about to leave his body, his mother comes crying, and she says to her son that I'm very sad. For a mother to see her son leaving his body in front of her is a very painful experience, right? She says to Parikshit Maharaj, I'm very sad. Can you just not revert it? She's still hoping. And Parikshit Maharaj says, why are you sad? He said, because you're going to die. So he said, but I'm fully satisfied, and that is why we lead our life, to be fully satisfied and become Krishna conscious. So accomplish the goal. So, and then she becomes like spellbound the way he speaks it, and then she asked him that, can you give me the summary of whatever you heard in these 7 days? So he said, no problem. And Brihad Bhagavatamrita is that summary that Parikshit Maharaj is telling to his mother before he leaves his body. So in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, there is this mention of this Narad Muni. Narad Muni is going around looking for who is the most receiver of Krishna's mercy. Who did Krishna give the mercy the most? Who is it? Then he goes, his journey is explained that how he goes to Prayag to see a Brahmin who's doing his worship to his Shila so happily. He's very meager living, but so like that, there's whole description. So here also we say that basically the point is that a pure devotee never thinks that they are better off. They always appreciate someone else who has received Krishna's mercy. Okay, so bhakti is above all the, bhakti is uniquely glorified by the above 6 characteristics or 6 qualities. And the 2 qualities in each of the 3 types, sadhana bhakti, bhava bhakti, prema bhakti, which will be described later. Yeah, which we'll describe later. So like bhava bhakti, sadhana bhakti is like all the 6 qualities. What are the 6 qualities? Now help me. Kleshagni. We'll bring the slide up. Or which destroys all the, or gives relief from all the material
miseries.
Very nice. Shubda bestows all auspiciousness. Moksha Lagukrit derives the concept of happiness by liberation. Sudurlabha is rarely achieved. Sadrananda Visheshatma produces a condensed bliss and is Sri Krishna Akarshani. Now these are in the groups of 2 and 2 and 2 will be described in each of the 3 stages of bhakti. Sadhana bhakti, bhava bhakti, prema bhakti. This is how it goes, huh? Like, for example, I'll give another example. This Shikshashtakam. There are 8 verses and there are 16 syllables in Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So my Guru Maharaj explains that these 8 verses, each of the verse is explaining the two syllables. So first verse, Hare Krishna. Second verse, Krishna Krishna, like that. Third verse, Hare Hare, like that. So each of them are explaining all those things. Or there are subdivisions of 9 stages of bhakti, that what stage is explained in what verse is also there. Like what is all condensed. I think I'm speaking a lot because there is a lot to speak in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. It's very, very condensed. You need to study it every day. If you don't study it every day, then the memory will not form an impression. So maybe set up a rule to study maybe 1.5 or 2 pages every day. Okay, don't let the day pass between sunrise and sunset and you haven't touched Doctor Devotion. That will be a sinful activity. Okay, I'll do that too. So Kleshagni, how does it produces Kleshagni? We studied. How does it produces Shubda? By 4 things. How does it produces Moksha Lagukrit? Why is it Sudarlabha? And how does it produce Sadhananda Visheshatma? How is it Shri Krishna Karshani? Subdivisions. Study and come back. I'm so sorry I spoke so much, but honestly, these slides, I have to make these slides again. But this is how it is divided. Sadhana Bhakti is the first 2 characteristics, Kleshagni and Shubda. Then Bhava Bhakti is Moksha, Lagukrit and Sudurlabha. And Prema Bhakti is Sadhananda Visheshatma and Shri Krishna Karshani, which we will study